All right. Hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for attending our presentation today. And like Andrew said, we do have a full 4-hour class, and this is light. What I have done on this class is I've given you a little taste of several of the different topics that we go over in our 4-hour class. I don't give you everything in all of them, but I'm trying to give you some of the highlights so that we go through it in a light or diet version. One of the things I want to focus on today, and I want to give you some information on, is fall design. Fall is an absolutely perfect time in South Texas to do some planting. This is the best planting time for success for trees. You can add some perennials to your garden, which will give you year-to-year color and just a little bit of pruning every now and then, and they'll be around for a long time. And it's also a good time to add some wildscape plants to your design. This will invite the birds and the butterflies and the bees to our garden. And fall is perfect because we don't have to worry about a harsh winter where the ground thaws. We can do planting and we can do different things in our garden just about 12 months of the year. We do have about 45 minutes of fall and about 45 minutes of spring. And of course, the summers are something to write home about. But fall is a really good time. It's getting a little bit cooler and you can get out there and look at what you've got. Purchasing plants. I'm going to hit this right off the top because I want to encourage you to use your local nurseries. These are nurseries that have been around a while. They have people who have been in the nursery business for a long time, and you're going to get a better quality product. Plus, I like to encourage people to buy from local businesses. In the pandemic, that's become very, very important because a lot of the businesses, local businesses, the little mom and pop shops have gone out of business. So let's keep our local nurseries in place. You can Google any of these places and find out about them. They're all located within the San Antonio area, and they will give you some really, really good plants.
Hey, Laura?
Yes.
I am still looking at you. I think you're trying to share your screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. If you would, if you have the screen up where it says share, there on the lower right-hand corner should be a button for you to click on that says share.
Well, just a minute. Let me back out.
Okay. Now.
Okay, wait a minute. Can you see it now?
I see your entire presentation, and you go into presentation mode and we'll be there.
Okay, I apologize. You should have stopped me. All right, let me go back a little bit. Fall design. This is what I was talking about, trees, perennials, and wildscape. The best time to plant for success. Adding the perennials will give you color after color for years, and your wildscape will provide for the birds. Purchasing plants, Phoenix, Millburgers, Rainbow, 2 locations, Shades of Green, and the Garden Center. These are some local nurseries that would just love to have you come and visit and purchase plants there. Next thing I want to go over a little bit is Xeric. Anyone who's been in gardening for a little while understands, and I want everyone to understand, it is not zero-scape. It does not mean it has to be all rock or desert-looking plants. It is merely utilizing plants that are local or that are adapted to the area and using low water. One of the first things in a Xeric scape is planning. You've got to have a plan. You've got to look at your yard. You've got to decide what to keep, what to get rid of. You've got to decide what you need. Do you need to trim a plant or do you need to remove it? Soil. You've got to take a look at your soil. Do you have deep soil? Do you have sandy soil? Do you have absolutely no soil at all? You're all rocks. This will make a difference in whether you're going to plant something and it's going to survive or not. Soil is not dirt. Soil is enriched, and it is something that is going to make a big difference in your plants. Plant selection, it's number 3 on a Xeric thing, but I would have moved it down to number 7 because kind of you have to do the whole thing before you actually go out and buy your plants. I know that's the fun part, but no one wants to go out and buy some plants, bring them home, put them in the backyard and say, now, where am I going to plant them? So you need to make your plan and understand that before you make a selection. Turf grass, there's nothing wrong with having turf grass in a landscape that is xeric. There's nothing wrong with having turf grass within the San Antonio area. However, I suggest a third. I suggest a third of turf grass. Look at your entire yard and look at how much you want to leave or add as turf grass. Understanding that most turf grasses will not grow without some sun. So putting turf grass under an oak tree is not going to work. A third is turf grass. A third are mulched beds. These are beds that do not have any grass in them. They have borders around them. They have plants intentionally planted there, and they have mulch on them. The other third is pervious landscape. This could be stepping stones. This could be any type of gravel or rock that allows the moisture, the rain, to go into it and through and percolate down into the ground. A slab of cement does not count because the water runs off of that and doesn't go immediately into the ground. Efficient irrigation. Efficient irrigation is if you have an in-ground irrigation system, you need to have it checked on a regular basis. You need to understand how it works. You need to understand how long it would take for the water that's being produced out of that irrigation system to percolate down into the ground, not just sit at the top, but actually go into the ground. In some cases, efficient irrigation with a system would be running it for 10 minutes and then turning it off and letting some of the water percolate in, and then 10 more minutes. Use of mulches. In real estate, it's location, location, location. And in the world of mulching, it's mulch, mulch, mulch. Utilizing mulches, which I'll touch on a little bit later, is very important in the San Antonio area. It does a couple of things. It actually helps cool the ground. And when you are out there in the middle of June, July, August, September, the ground can get very warm. Mulches can be a lot of things. I do not like the use of a lot of rock in a landscape in a full sun environment, because if you think about it, that rock doesn't get hot just on the top. It gets hot all the way down to the ground, and it will dry your ground out. Appropriate maintenance. I think the only non-maintenance landscape would be plastic, and that would not be really good because in South Texas, it's going to fade out pretty quick, plus the deer will carry it away. So you need to understand that you're going to have some maintenance, more maintenance the first year of your landscape, later on, not so much. But you're going to have to understand what maintenance you're willing to do or willing to have somebody else help you with. Your garden. This is your garden we're talking about. So you need to determine the location. Where do you want these plants to be? What do you want to look at when you see, like Andrew said about looking at that beautiful patio with the fish pond? What do you want to see when you look out your windows or when you're on your patio and looking out? Texture. Texture can be used in a lot of different ways. If you get all of the same plant with all of the same leaf size and all of the same color, you're not going to really have an interesting landscape. So you need to look at the texture of the leaves. Some are very thin, very feathery. Some are very thick. Some are very heavy. Some are light green, dark green. You get a lot of different things going on there. Size. The size of your plant. If you're planting, you know, when you look at the little tiny plant in the little 4-inch pot at the garden center, and it says it'll grow 12 feet tall. Well, if you put that plant in a really good place, it might get even taller than that. So you need to think about, in a few years when this plant does grow up, how big will it be? Also, how wide will it be? Color, you need to look at color. And color is not only the flowers of a plant, but it also could be the fruit or berries that's on the plant. It could also be the color of the leaves. Leaves can be a dark green, they can be a light green, a yellow green, even the silvery green. Low water use in the city of San Antonio and the Bexar County area, and basically all of South Texas, is very important. It's important to us to utilize the aquifer. I'm a native San Antonian. I have lived in San Antonio all of my life, and I'm very, very, very familiar with the droughts that we have. I'm also very familiar with our biggest water source, which is the Edwards Aquifer. That's all of the rain that falls here, which averages about 33 inches a year, and it falls into the aquifer. Now, because I've been here 150 years, when I was a kid, there was a lot more open area around San Antonio, and a lot more water was able to percolate into the aquifer. Now we have highways and parking lots and big box stores and shopping centers and schools and everything over a lot of the area of our recharge zone. So low water use is very, very important. It's a very, very safe water that we have here, and I want to make sure that it's here for my grandkids and great-grandkids. Native or Texas plants, that's something to look for on the plant list that you get, and understand what they are and utilize them, and avoid invasive plants. There are quite a few invasive plants that have come into our area that have created some havoc. So kind of watch, and I'll give you some lists later on of what to watch for. Location, sun, sun, sun. How much sun hits the place you want to plant? If it is the morning sun from the east, it's probably a little lighter and you're a little cooler. If it's that sun from the middle of the day onto the sundown, it's gonna really, really be difficult to plant something there. How deep is your topsoil? Does it drain well? You need to go out and put some water out where you're looking to plant and see if it drains. Run the water out there for a little while, see if you have a mud puddle or if you have deep soil, and dig down and see just what you have. How much room do you have? A lot of times people have planted 2 or 3 plants right next to each other, and they grow up on top of each other. And therefore it requires more maintenance, and actually the plants will they will not thrive as well. Do you need a tall plant, medium plant, short plant? Do you want to put some tall plants one place and some small ones the other? Like I said, sit on your porch and look out and see. You want to possibly put some of those taller plants further out and the shorter plants up closer to your deck or your patio. Do you need a plant in this spot that is evergreen or deciduous? And that just means, do you want it green year round, which is going to be an evergreen plant, or deciduous where you want to let the leaves fall in the fall time, and in the spring they'll come back. Also in the San Antonio area, even within the city and everything, do you need a plant that is deer resistant? You notice I did not say deer proof, because there is no deer proof plant. If they get hungry enough, they'll eat it. So that may be something, and you'll find out if you plant something and you have deer in your area, you'll find out real quickly if they like it. Sun requirements. Now the sun, this is in the San Antonio area, and full sun in San Antonio is different from full sun in other parts of the country. So if you've moved here from somewhere else, you need to understand that. And when you have spent one summer in the full sun of South Texas, you'll understand what we mean. Full shade is an hour or less, partial 2 to 4, partial sun 4 to 6, full sun 6 hours or more. And full score is that afternoon sun right by your driveway or street. That is something that is is very, very difficult to plant for. But you need to understand how much sun and shade. And since we're home quite a bit with the pandemic, what you can do is kind of look out your window and see at different times of the day how much sun you're getting. Soil depth and quality. The soil in Bexar County can be shallow and alkaline. So Texas is a big state. So even a lot of the plants that you see in East Texas, the azaleas and the hydrangeas, they're very beautiful, but they do not like alkaline soil. So you need to understand the type of soil, if you have soil, and how much you have. You can have the addition of quality soil will improve plants. If you're interested in purchasing garden soil or improving your soil, purchasing can be made. Make sure that you don't buy from the dump truck on the side of the road, that you go to a quality dealer and somebody that will not bring you something that is going to not be good for your plants. And of course, adding compost will add needed organic material. You can utilize compost when you're planting a plant, or even scattering a top dressing of compost over your plants and over your landscape during the year. Mulch, 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 mulch. You can utilize locally produced hardwood mulch. You can buy mulch from some of the soil dealers in the San Antonio area. You can also buy it bagged at different stores. Look at the label, see where it's from, make sure that it's from the San Antonio area. There's several local products that are very, very good that you can utilize. Cedar, juniper, it's actually a juniper, they're not cedar trees. They provide, you can get juniper mulch, or they'll call it cedar mulch. It provides a more natural look. It looks more like it belongs here. I do have some friends that say the cedar provides some flea control when it's put around the back. Let me make a couple of disclaimers. One of the things you do not want to use is cocoa bean mulch. It's been on the market. I haven't seen it recently, but if you have puppy dogs that like to go out and eat on mulch, that's not a very good thing to have. So look at what you're buying and see. Cypress mulch is not native to this area and it will not decompose. So it's not really anything that I would suggest. A question was asked once upon a time, what about the brown dyed and the red dyed and the, what is it, black dyed mulch? It's supposedly not an issue according to some sources. But if you buy that mulch, it will look nice for maybe a year and then it's going to fade out. Remember that hot Texas sun I was talking to you about? It'll fade just about anything that comes out. Now, remember I gave you 3, 3, 3, or a third, a third, a third. I'm going to give you another set of numbers, and that's 2, 2, 2. And that is 2 inches of mulch twice a year in the spring or the fall, and 2 inches from the base of any plant. Several years ago, some of the landscapers in the San Antonio area went around town and they put mulch around the trees, which was really, really good. And they propped it, they scooped it up and pushed it up the sides of the trees, kind of like a volcano. Not a good idea, because you want to leave the crown of those roots, which is where the tree goes into the ground. You want to leave those open. You can push that mulch back after you spread it 2, 3 inches. The tree can't count, so it's okay. Just get that mulch away from the base of a plant. And the same thing with any of the other plants, just get it back. But we want the mulch to provide some moisture retention, but we don't want to provide anything that will include any kind of illnesses or fungal infections. 2 inches in depth, and from the base of the plant, twice a year, spring and fall. Size. This is something, if you're going to be a do-it-yourselfer, consider the size of the area where you're planting. So if I have a backyard and I, in a former life, was working, I had a project where I was going to do the whole backyard. And I bit off a lot more than I could chew. But I learned a lesson. I had a great big huge pile of mulch brought to my house and dumped in front of my house. And then I realized how long it was going to take me to haul that to the back, because I was only doing it in the evenings and on weekends. And I finally got to the point to where I was swearing the mulch pile was growing overnight. I swear I took a bunch of it down, took it to the backyard, and it must have walked back out there. So consider the size of the area where you're planting. You don't have to do it all at one time. You can do it as you feel physically capable, and also as your budget brings in funds for it. Each plant will grow tall and wide. So when you are planning on these plantings, understand that that small bush might be 4 feet wide. So you don't want to plant them 6 inches apart. And understand where you want something that gives you seasonal flowers or leaves, or whether it's evergreen. This is going to make a difference also, because some of your evergreens are taller and thinner, and some of the seasonal plants are wider. Texture and shape. Consider those texture when I was talking a while ago about combining different plants in a container or a garden bed. I'm basically an English cottage garden person. I throw everything out there and see what sticks. I love combining plants. I love to put things in a container and move them around. You can combine plants that are spiky and mounds to give you a little bit of different. Like a container, it's the thriller, it's the filler, it's the spiller. So you want something that goes up, something that goes out, and something that trails down. Plants can be tall, round, trailing. They can do a lot of different things. And so look at what you're buying and what do you want. You can choose the same variety or choose a different variety of plants, or you can be consistent. You can have all of the same type of plant. This is your yard, your project, so you can do whatever makes you happy. You can really mix it up. There are times that people will put plants together that you wouldn't really think would go, but both that cactus and that plumbago like sun. They enjoy being out there in the sun, and they take about the same amount of water. Plumbago sometimes will take a little bit more, but for the most part, they can go out there. So you can mix it up, whatever you like within your area. Size, remember again, consult the plant guide for your plant's height and width at maturity, not when you purchase it. Plants that grow too close together will require more frequent pruning, and that's where you get into that maintenance part of the world. So if you plant them too close together, they're not going to grow up with an even covering of foliage. Consider that tall plants close to windows will block your interior light, and that short plants don't obscure the view of the house. This is important if you don't like to have your front windows blocked off. If you have a particular architecture you want to use, that will give you a chance to let it be seen by people. You can use color and size. This uses color in this border around there, and they're also different sizes side by side. So you notice it's drawing you in. You've got 3 different plants. You've got one that's down there that is a smaller one, and you've got one that's a little bit bigger. You've got a I apologize. You've got a Sinisa back there, and you've got a Salvia in the front. So you're seeing them in full sun, and you're seeing the difference between the leaf sizes and what you're looking for. Height and cascade. One of the things, if you have a lot where you have to maybe build a retaining wall or something, you can mix different sizes of plants. And you notice these go from something in the very front up to the top. And there's a rosemary, there's a yucca out front, there's a rosemary, trailing rosemary going over the side of the wall. And then toward the back, you can see some other plants. They're a little bit difficult to figure out. I think that they're, well, I'm not sure. What you want to do is different shades, different types of leaves. You want to put them in as they go. Color. Consider planting for 12 months of color. Different plants will bloom at different times of the year. So what you want to do is make sure that you have a spring blooming plant, a summer blooming plant, and a fall blooming plant. Fall asters are really pretty and they're starting to really come out right now. Of course, a lot of your wildflowers are spring bloomers. And during the summer, some of your salvias are your winners because they're the ones that are going to give you most of their color. Also, if you want yellow in your yard, make sure you have yellow plants that bloom in each season. If you want to mix colors, that's fine. Like I said, if you want all white flowers, that's one thing. If you want whites and reds, that's something different. But it can make a difference of what type of look your yard has. Like I said, monochromatic beds set one mood. Country gardens with a variety of colors set another. So it's merely what you like. Texas color, don't let anybody tell you that Texas doesn't have beautiful color. Just take a trip out in the spring and this is a picture I took several years ago out south of town. The color was so beautiful, it actually looks like a lake. So you can utilize color in your landscape, and each area that you have, whether you have 16 acres or a small garden area, each area can provide a different look. Low water usage. We want to make sure that we use native and adapted plants that use less water. And water needs are listed in resources or for plants once they're established, because most plants require more frequent watering while becoming established. And this usually takes one season. So utilizing plants that have utilized less water are going to be, you kind of have to baby them the first year, and then they'll be fine. Water requirements. And I spoke a few minutes ago about water requirements. If you have an in-ground irrigation system, make sure that you check your in-ground irrigation system and make sure that where you're planting, you're going to get the right kind of sprinkler heads and the right kind and timing of how much water you're going to utilize there. If you are old-fashioned and you want to use a hose on your yard, you have to, how close are your plants to the faucet? How long is your hose? And how often are you willing to water? Watering by hose, when we are in SAWS restrictions, you can do anytime. Just make sure you don't lay the hose down, then it becomes a sprinkler. So if you've got different areas of your yard that are going to need a little more water during the week than your weekly watering day, make sure that you can get your plants are close enough to the faucet, you can take care of them. And plant plants with the same water requirements together. If you have two plants and one is a high water use plant and one next to it is a low water use plant, one of them is going to die. You're either going to overwater one or underwater the other. So kind of understand what they need. Native or Texas plants. Obviously plants from other parts of the country are often poorly suited to our plants. I did a program several years ago and the guy came up and said, I have this plant that I had at my other home that I want to plant here. And I said, well, where's your other home? And he said, Pennsylvania. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but it's probably not going to survive here. Number one, we don't have cold winters. Number two, we have hot summers, so they're probably not going to survive. Native plants are sustainable and earthwise. A lot of native plants are utilized in commercial installations, and that's a good thing because if they're used there, that means that they're not requiring a lot of care. Choose plants from Texas resources. If you pick up a book and it's printed in California or New York, put it back on the shelf because it is not going to address the needs of Texas. Also understanding that Texas is a fairly large state and it'll be the largest as soon as Alaska melts. But Texas, you've got East Texas, you've got the Gulf Coast, you've got far West Texas, and then the area from the Panhandle down through the center to us. So some plants in Texas will survive in East Texas, but not in South Texas. So kind of watch what you got. Avoid invasive plants. So this is a vitex tree. It is on several plant lists. It is not native, and it does produce a lot of seeds, and it can spread. Some of the invasive plants, it's kind of like the kudzu in Alabama and Georgia years ago. They were brought here with good intentions, or somebody thought that it would be a good idea. But unfortunately, like a lot of things, they're able to spread faster. They're able to take over an area and take out some of the local and native plants. And avoid, if you live near a park or a preserve or a green space, make sure you don't plant these in that area, because that means they're just going to spread. If you have a corner, here's some full sun plants that you can fill up with the area. We've got some salvias, we've got some plumbago, we've got some damanita. We've got in the middle, we've got a non-native plant, but they're all over San Antonio, and that's a crepe myrtle. Now this is a very young crepe myrtle, and it will become much taller through the years. Please, please, please do not top the crepe myrtle. Crepe myrtle have their blooms on new growth, but please do not top it. Do not allow somebody to do that. Whoever said that you needed to prune a crepe myrtle back that far, we're still looking for that person. You can utilize different heights and different colors. As you see, that there's shorter plants out front, and then they move to taller further back. More ideas. This gives you various heights and also the use of different rocks and gravels. If rocks and gravels and mulch is what you want, you can have it. You can utilize different plants in here. We've got a sago palm, we've got some yuccas, and we've got some grasses and everything in this bed. So what you can do is you can utilize whatever you like. Just make sure that you can add rocks. If this is your cup of tea, that's good. Sun with a path. This is an area that has several plants in it. I am going to change out this one because I really don't like it. The tree that's there, the taller tree, is a cottonwood tree. And a cottonwood tree requires a little more water. If you look at cottonwood trees, they're growing along streams and riverbanks, or maybe a low area. So this would not be a good idea. But it gives you the idea of how you can create a path within your yard, and you can line it with different size plants, and it will give you to, maybe you want to put a seating area back in that corner. This gives you an area to where you can get to that through the plantings and get back there. It's also a wider paved area, I think with decomposed granite. So it's a little more ADA accessible rather than using stones. You can add some whimsy. This is I took just because it's covered just about everything you could put in a side yard. And this may be a little bit more that somebody likes, but then again, it's their yard and this is what they want. They put some succulents in a wheelbarrow. This is really good. You got a wheelbarrow that's got a hole in the bottom, it'll drain. Your succulents will be real happy. They have utilized gravel here along in this side area, and several people had asked about utilizing areas between the driveway and maybe the street or the other driveway on next door. This is something you can do. Maybe not as many things in this, but you can utilize. You can also utilize containers in an area like this. So a wheelbarrow or any other kind of container can be utilized in that area. It'll give you some area where you can use the containers, and if you don't want to put perennials, which are the plants that come back each year, you want to add some annuals, you can. And instead of buying a flat of some kind of plant, you'll just buy a 6-pack. So you want to make sure that you plant in the fall, you purchase plants from a local dealer, that you utilize the different plants that are available, and you can utilize them in containers. Add containers. If you have an area that doesn't have a whole lot of sun, has dapple shade, you can use containers in your landscape. This gives you a lot of different, if you like to change out your plants on frequency, you can go ahead and utilize the containers because they're going to be a smaller area that you have to deal with. And in some cases, they can be moved when needed. Some of the containers, like the one over closer to the house, you would need Superman to help you move that one. So when you plant something like that, you're gonna kind of make sure it stays there for a while. If you have a contemporary home, or if you have a Spanish style, or if you have French or cottage, you can use elements in any type of landscape to help you. You can use height, you can use borders, turf grass, and color. You see there's some turf grass here. There's color in the lower plants that go along to the tree, and there's a single tree that provides some shade, but it does give you an area to where you can see the front door of your house. So look at the style house you have before you go buying plants, and try to determine what plants do you think would go with the style house that you have, or the style house that you're living in. Small space, even though you have a small space, that's not a biggie. This one put quite a few plants in there. Right up front, you have one of my favorite plants, which is the firebush. I have one out front of my house, and the hummingbirds will fight over it. It will freeze back every year all the way to the ground. You cut it back, and every year it's the last thing to come back, but it will, and mine's been out there for about 18 years. There's a sago palm over at the left. They will start small, they will get larger, so you need to watch where you plant them. This one should have probably been planted a little bit further out in the yard, because you see it has gotten a little bit bigger. It's got some shade, but it's giving you a lot of color here. Pollinators. This is Monarch month, and so we want to look at some pollinators. These are just 4. There's a lot of other ones out there. We've got milkweed, we've got bulbine in the lower left, salvia in the upper right, and mistflower. All of these are really good for pollinators, not just butterflies, but for the other pollinators. We want to keep our bees and our butterflies and our hummingbirds and all of our little creatures happy. If you want to get some information on the current monarch stuff, you can go to the Texas Butterfly Ranch. Now, where else in the country do we have a butterfly ranch? No longhorns, just butterflies. If you have a pool, that's fine. You can utilize an arbor and vines near your pool to give you some extra shade and allow some outdoor activities. There's also some large planters, container gardens that are utilized here. This gives you a chance to give you a little bit of shade on your pool as the day goes on. And a water conservation hint: cover your pool when not in use. You can cover it. There are some covers that are available. You can also take those big floaties, the big old flat floaties, and put them out in your pool, and it'll help utilize, especially during the summer, loss of moisture. Add some herbs. Herbs are always great in a garden. You can get nutrition from your garden. You can have a rosemary and go out and pick some of the rosemary to use in your cooking. And of course, the scent makes you happy. I have a Mexican oregano near the front of my house. And when it gets really, really full and everything, I can just walk by there and touch it, or drive in and out of my driveway and the edge of my car hits it. And it smells absolutely wonderful. So those scents and utilizing something from your garden and the scent can make everybody happy. And we need a lot of happy nowadays. Veggies to share. I've noticed recently that there are a lot of people that are utilizing vegetable gardens in their front yard. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can get a lot of color and different types of vines and different types of plants. So check out the veggies that are available and see if you want to put some veggies in your landscape. And it'll make it really nice to meet your neighbors when they can come over and you can share with them. So what I want to tell you is to do your own thing. It's your home, your garden, your design. So use what you like. This may be a little bit crowded, but it looks like something out of the country. You can see the screen porch out front. You can see the shade. You can see the different colors. You can see some smaller plants out front. You can see some native grasses in there and everything. So if you like it, you can try it and see how it works. Also, enjoy San Antonio. We have an absolutely wonderful place here to be a gardener. You can share your city with others. There are other people that come here and go, oh my gosh, it's, you know, December, January, and you still have things that's green. Look at other landscapes around your subdivision or in your neighborhood or just anywhere in San Antonio and look at